I'd worked in Republican politics for a long time and managing campaigns. And then when I kind of hung my own shingle, my job was to, advise campaigns, and really it was more simple than that. Basically place telemarketing orders. That's what we did. We're telemarketing, political telemarketing vendor. And that was going very nicely until 2002 when I got a call to do some work for the New Hampshire Republican Party. That call came from a former colleague of mine who was working at the RNC. And as we all know, the job was to the infamous phone jamming, and so that led to my infamy, I guess. I signed on for party versus party, Democrats versus Republicans. I signed on for that. I didn't sign on for Alan Raymond versus the government of the United States. And so when that became the paradigm, when that became the dynamic, I made a very easy decision, which is I've got to be for me and my family. When you get a call from someone like that, it's not just some guy giving you a call or an ex-colleague. I mean, they have a platform. They are the agent for whatever committee they're working for. And in Jim's case at the time, that was the Republican National Committee and the National Republican Senatorial Committee. And so, and I, having worked at both committees actually in the same position, I know the process. The process is, no program sees the light of day, particularly if it's an unusual program as this was. It just doesn't see the light of day unless it's been vetted, because this is not an organization of rogues. This is not an organization of crackpots. These are professional campaign managers.
Right.
And so there's two assessments you make. One is, well, if he's calling me, it must be approved, and if he's calling me, he also must be somehow in charge of the money.
And who was the, what name was the check written on?
You mean what account? Which,
Yeah.
it was the Victory account from the New Hampshire Republican State Committee.
Mm-hmm.
Which, and Victory accounts, for your viewers who don't know that, and this doesn't exist anymore because of the McCain-Fine rule, campaign finance reform, but it used to be, there was two currencies, political campaign currencies, hard money and soft money, or federal money and non-federal money. Mm-hmm. And Victory accounts were, essentially they were committees formed to enable state parties to do work using federal money, using hard money, usually in context of a presidential campaign.
In the book, you also made the assertion that the soft money and the hard money, they're supposed to be separate, but that they're really interchangeable as far as the RNC is concerned.
Well, I mean, money's fungible, I mean, it is what it is. It's all currency. The federal money is money that is regulated by the Federal Election Commission. So I guess your question is, yeah, you can take campaign funds and you can, now this is then, this is not the case anymore.
Right.
But then you would have hard money accounts or federal accounts and non-federal accounts. Any money raised, and non-federal meaning could be corporate money. For instance, a corporation then couldn't give money to a federal candidate. It has to come from individuals or PACs. And so you might raise $1 million in one check from a corporation. That would be non-federal money or soft money. But you could take that money and you could trade that money. You could say, well, I want to sell X amount of soft dollars for X amount of hard dollars. So there might be actually a currency. Hard money is always a more valuable commodity, back then, because it's harder to raise because the increments are lower.
Right.
It's like currency trading, yen for dollars or whatever it might be. It's the same concept.
Now, in your book, you don't speak kindly of the Southernists or the Bushies, or
Yeah.
you have many different names for them, but is it their mindset about just anything goes, or could you explain that?
Well, initially it was their mindset towards Republicans like me from the Northeast. I mean, I'm a fiscally conservative, socially moderate Republican, kind of your model from New York, Connecticut,
Right.
New Jersey, so on and forth, parts of Pennsylvania. And the Southern Republicans are, they're the snake handlers. They're You know, they're more ideological, they're certainly social and fiscally conservative. And so there wasn't a whole lot of tolerance in the caucus, at least from my perspective, when I worked on the Hill. After the 1994 election, I came to Washington. I didn't see a lot of tolerance there. I saw mostly, we've won, we have a mandate, this is what we're going to do. And Northeast Republicans were kind of dismissed. I mean, they were dismissed as the past, the Northeast establishment. Mm-hmm. And that was a shame because, frankly, look what happened. Government is not about morality. Running campaigns is not about morality. Guys like me get hired to win. The stakes are high. Not only there's a lot of money on the table, but there's a lot of power, there's a lot of control, there's a lot of issues here that should not be dismissed. Next time you're looking at a political communication, ask yourself, why me? Why am I getting this piece of direct mail, or seeing this television spot, or this radio spot, or something in my email? Why me? They're sending this to me for a reason. Who do they think they are, and what are they how are they trying to get me to respond? I was not involved with the Bush campaign ever in any level at any time. I wasn't part of the Brooks Brothers riot or anything like that.
Yeah.
Clearly that's an orchestrated thing, the Brooks Brothers riot.
Well, and you mentioned that in your book,
Yeah.
Where you said that if you see people rallying at some of these political events, that it's not some spontaneous.
No, it never is.
It's all directed by somebody like you.
Yeah. The story you're relating is, I don't want to give it away, but when I was working the convention floor in 1996, and talking to a friend of mine who was watching the convention, and I was kind of getting my section of the convention to do stuff. He was like, what do you want to do next? Get them to stand on their head. Type of thing. Politics is a business. This is not the town village or the village square anymore. It's not what we're talking about. Politics is a business. I've got a master's degree in political management. You can get a master's degree in lobbying. The same way you can, and I don't equate it with an MBA or a JD. I kind of equate it more to a trade school like Apex Tech or something. But in fact, it is a master's degree, and that should tell you something. That should tell you something about how we treat our political system. And I said this in the Boston Globe a while ago, and I believe it's true. I think Republicans, both parties monetize government, but in different ways. Republicans monetize government through contracts, money, lobbying contracts, government contracts, whatever. Democrats are a little bit different. They monetize it through entitlement programs and, essentially institutionalizing things that lock people into voting a certain way. Because again, there are two parties here, and they both have, they're not lily white on either side. And so it's a different way of treating government, and it's a different way of leveraging government. I can just speak to the Republican side of it. And Republicans they're very good at monetizing government.